Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur podcast. My name is Christian. I'm the host. And first off, I need to say my apologies to today's guest because she came on to a podcast with us in July of last year. We moved some of our stuff around and we totally screwed it up. So now I have a beautiful video of her. You can hear anything about her sound, and she's amazingly good in what she does, and she has a lot of things to say. And so, Miss Christina, I have to say apologies, but I'm really excited to sit down today with Christina Cates. Not only is she a seasoned hospitality operator, she's a real storyteller. And she's amazingly good at. She is a podcaster. She's amazingly good looking. You know, we hate everything about her. And she's the founder of Culinary Confidential. We're really excited to have today's conversation with Christina. Welcome to the Disruptive Chef Show.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you so much. This is such an honor. I'm so excited for today.
Yeah. And again, apologies. I don't know how we screwed up, but it was such a good episode. So we said we need to have you back, and I appreciate you coming back. So, Christina,
my pleasure.
For people which do not know you, can you give us the 5-minute, 2-minute, 3-minute cliff note? Who you are, how you came to be, what you do today, and how did this whole thing start?
So I'm someone that never enjoyed going to school. I hated school. So when it came time to go to college, I knew I wasn't going to a proper 4-year college. It just wasn't in the cards for me. But the culinary world was something that just came very natural to me. So I decided when I was 18 years old, graduated high school in June, the end of the month, I enrolled in a culinary school in New York. And I did that. And then I started working at some of the best restaurants in New York at a very young age. My first job was Tavern on the Green. And I just worked my way up. I worked every holiday, every weekend, every day, and worked really hard and just made a name for myself in the industry, made great connections, and stayed at places a long time. So, I had that journey for, I'd say, a good 15 years in New York. And then I got married and had kids, and, the lifestyle is a little demanding when you have those other things going on. So I stepped away from restaurants and I work for my family now, but I do this radio show in New York and global podcast where I talk about the industry. And that's kind of where I'm at. So I still get to check that box of fulfilling something that I really enjoy, which is restaurants and hospitality, but I do it on my own schedule.
Wow. I love it. And by the way, to the audience, I will link in today's show notes the podcast I did with Christina. I had the opportunity to see her studio in New York City, which was an amazing experience. And if you guys, as the listeners, have time, you need to check out her podcast. Absolutely amazing. She does a really amazing job. So with that, Miss Christina, we talk a lot about when the industry gets it wrong. Because you shared a shocking story with me a while ago where you asked to fire your beloved bartender and somebody who was, more marketable. How did that moment change your values, and how did it shape who you are, not just as a leader, who you are as a business owner today?
So, just a little backstory. I, as you know, was asked to fire a seasoned, well-known bartender at a restaurant I was the general manager at downtown, and was asked to replace him, old school guy, with a young, attractive female. And, it's my grounding in myself and the way I was brought up, my morals, where when I was delivered this message, it was like, absolutely not. Like, you can fire me, but I'm not going to fire them. That's just not happening. So, that's basically what happened. I said to shove it. I'm not doing that. And I left on my own accord and went around the corner and worked at another popular restaurant and took half the guests with me. So nothing's going to shake me if I don't think something is correct. I don't care. Like, I'm not doing it. And the industry, it's tough. you sometimes have to make decisions for the restaurant, for the betterment of the restaurant, but you have
Yeah.
to stay solid in your foundation, because if you're the leader and you make a bad decision like that, it runs downhill. Like, it just leads to other bad decisions amongst employees, hourly staff. So I just set the tone and said, that's not going to work here. I'm
Yeah.
going to leave. And the owners got the message.
Yeah. I, by the way, I love this story. And there's so many of our listeners are in the same situation. I was put myself in it. I had to fire my brother. And I should have never hired him, because I hired him to do him a favor. He was terrible at it. And I knew he was terrible for a long time. He's amazingly good in so many other things. He wasn't good for the restaurant. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do. And I can only imagine you doing this and saying, hey, I'm going somewhere else. You know, that's another layer of difficulty. And for me, I love that story because it has so many ways of how we deal with people. And it has nothing to do, you know, if I say I fire somebody, I could fire a friend, or I could fire a associate, a partner. All of that is really difficult. And I applaud you how you managed it. Not just managed it, how you said, hey, I do something totally different. It shows to me of the character you are. And we are big fans of you. And I'm really amazed on how this all works out.
Thank you. Well, you know what it is? I'm finding the older I get, the reason I'm like this is because I'm an Aquarius. And Aquarius women that are born in January, you can't shake them. So it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything groundbreaking. This is just how I'm built.
I love that. And don't, you know, we're not going to tell the audience how old you are, but you are still very young. So I'd be excited for that. So,
I don't feel it.
So also, I want to talk a little bit about, you know, your culinary spark, for lack of better words, because I love the story where you talked about, hey, you've seen commercials as you were younger about culinary school, and you really wanted to dive in. So looking back, how did that spontaneous decision kind of change you and define who you are as a person, and how it defined your judgment? Because I let you tell the story, because I absolutely love that. And there's so much behind it on who you are as a person. Because for me, just with the first two things we talked about, I can tell you I would work with you any day because of the character you displayed and how you look at the industry overall. But talk to our audience, how was that for you, looking at the commercials and kind of diving in?
Yeah, I mean, I was in high school and I saw a commercial for the New York Restaurant School, which is no longer the New York Restaurant School. So I was like, well, that looks fun. I like to cook. I think I'm going to explore that because, as I said, like, proper school wasn't interesting for me. So, you know, when you're a senior and you're deciding where you're going to apply, where you're going to go, I was like pretty steadfast in knowing I'm going to do that. So I, you know, told my parents, my guidance counselor, I want to explore that. So I wound up going to the Art Institute of New York, which was downtown. It's formerly known as the New York Restaurant School.
Yeah.
And I did that. But again, it's like when I want to do something, I'm going to do it. And sometimes it's not always the right decision. And I have to learn things the hard way. I have to learn them when I'm ready to learn them. But that was a decision. I said, I want to do that. So I did. And I actually wound up dropping out of that school. I stopped going and I didn't tell my parents, and they were still paying tuition. I don't know why I stopped going. I just decided I don't want to go here anymore. So then they found out and they were not pleased, to say the least. So then they were like, you have to go to some school. You can't not go to school. And I said, okay. So they made me go to a community college for a semester. And I wound up taking all the culinary classes there. And I'm like, I'm taking the same classes here that I did in that nice school in New York. I think I'm going to go back to that nice school in New York. So then I said, I want to go back there. And my mother said, like, hell you are. I already wasted a ton of money. And my dad said, all right, let her go. So then I wound up going back and completing it. But again, I have to make my own mistakes in life. And it worked out well. The timing was right. I finished it. And that's when I got that job at Tavern on the Green. Like, the timing was perfect.
I honestly believe it kind of set you up. And you talk a lot about the influence your dad had in you. And maybe you want to talk to somebody, something to your audience. There was something your dad always said where he said, hey, businesses don't fail, people do. And it became kind of a driving culture for you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, my father is self-employed. He's owned his own businesses since the year I was born. So I always grew up in a setting where I saw someone tenacious and hardworking and providing for his family. And there was never a down day. Every day you got up and worked. So that was
Yeah.
just the culture I grew up in. My mother also works at these businesses. So same thing. So he said over and over again growing up, businesses don't fail, people fail. It's about the personal connection you have with your client, with your customer, with your guest. If it's in a restaurant, whatever you're going to do it to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
So that's just the framework I've always had. And it's something I try to teach people, whether I'm hiring them in a restaurant or even my own children. You have to put your best foot forward because
Yeah.
everyone has the same opportunity. It's what you make of it.
I love that because um, knowing you the long I know you now, because you always had, you called it the power of human connection. And it, for me, it shows that your influence from your parents had a lot to do with that. And you also talk a lot about the importance of restaurant leaders, table touching, building real relationships with the guests, understanding who are the people which work for me, how to,
Mhm.
kind of motivate them, how to have them deal in this fast-paced world. For me, that alone is just amazing. So can you talk to our audience a little bit about that whole philosophy, that where's that human connection kind of comes in? Because I feel with AI and all this stuff coming, that's becoming more important. And for me,
Yeah.
I'm looking at me. We we just went to a restaurant because it was my son's gacha day, and we going to the same restaurant because people know us. They treat us different than other people treat us because we've been going there for so
Yeah.
many years. And I feel like, and I was thinking of you because there's that human connection. And I think the reason they're as successful as they are is because they have that human connection. So can you
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about that?
Listen, a warm, genuine smile is all you need in any business, right? But especially in restaurants where it's a very transient world. People come, people go, employees, guests, whatever. And I know for myself, when I'm choosing to go to a restaurant, I always go back to the place where they're going to remember my name,
Yeah.
where they're going to send you out a dessert just because they're happy that you're there. And there's so many restaurants that don't do that. You're just another number on the book that evening.
Yeah.
And just to talk about the AI stuff scares the crap out of me because it is taking that human connection
Mhm.
away from something as simple as dining in a restaurant. Now, there are ways AI is going to help the industry, but the industry at its core is very simple. You're
Yeah.
going to a place where someone's welcoming you, they're cooking for you. Is there anything more personable and enjoyable than someone else making a meal for you? How can AI replace that?
Yeah.
So,
Totally agreed.
that's what drew me to the industry. I, for some reason, like being of service to people. It's something that comes natural to me. And the hospitality part, I find exciting. You never know who's going to walk in the door when you're in a restaurant or in a hotel or bar or whatever. There's that excitement. And I will
Yeah.
say, I was always, I think, a better boss to the guest than I was the employee because my standards were so high. I wanted the employees to have the same passion I had for being hospitable. And again, it's a transient job. People sometimes take
Yeah.
this job because they're doing it until they get to where they really want to go,
Mhm.
whether they're an actor or they're in
Yeah.
between corporate jobs. So to hire employees that have that same fire in them is really hard to do.
Yeah. I listen. I always said the same thing. It's first of all, it's not difficult to get a job in the hospitality industry. Okay, it's an entry level position.
Yeah.
Um, but there's still a few places I go to is where I have that human connection, where is that human interaction. And I feel the way you do, even though we leveraging AI in certain aspects, it scares me because it will leave avoid. Because even
Yeah.
today, I'm looking at how we as a human society are so over-connected yet underrelated. And I think having that is gonna be just be a hundredfold. And when I look at the news and I see that Japan, the fastest growing position in Japan is being a companion, going out with somebody, saying, "Hey, I'm your dad for the day," or "I'm your daughter for the day." Where you hire companions.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of scares me because I think that's the direction the industry is going to go. But there's also something which I feel makes you stand out because you constantly speak up for what's right in your career and you speak up for yourself and for your people. So, can you talk to us a little bit? How do you stay resilient and how do you stay grounded when negativity in our industry or politics is really part of a broken system?
It's not easy. I don't know that I have any great advice, except you have to be very certain in yourself. You have to have a good moral compass and know your value and your worth. But I mean, I was challenged every day as a I was 30 years old when I was the general
Yeah.
manager at a very popular steakhouse in Tribeca. And you have employees challenging you. You
Hmm.
have guests, if they're not satisfied with something and they look at you and you're a little young, your experience level, it's challenging. But I was certain that I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that's just how it worked for me. I wasn't going to let someone rattle me. I wasn't going to let somebody shake me. I was almost a little blind to if there was negativity. I was just like, no, you're crazy. This is exactly how it's supposed to be. Like, and it 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 does take a toll on you after a while.
Yeah.
Your mental health, I would say, because it's just like sometimes it can feel like it's an uphill battle all the
Yeah.
time. But I think that's good when you take a step back also. I
Yeah.
worked at restaurants 7, 8 years at a clip, which is a lifetime in restaurants to work at one place.
Mhm.
So going to a new place, you get a fresh set of customers, a fresh set of employees, a new perspective. That also helps. But it's it's not easy and it's not glamorous. The industry is not glamorous.
I know. I agree with that, and I think the industry is really hard in a way. The way you spend a lot of hours there if you really want to be
Yeah.
successful. It's really high paced. My wife always says, "You know what? That color industry is no different than being a doctor somewhere because the stress never lets off. It's always the same. It's you constantly kind of pushing forward, and it's so true. And I like that you kind of took your industry knowledge and kind of went into what is today called Culinary Confidential. So can you talk
Yeah.
to us a little bit how you made that pivot and how Culinary Confidential came about?
So I will tell you, I would not have this radio show if it wasn't for a former guest of mine at that steakhouse downtown. He was a regular. I was
Hmm.
hospitable to him. I developed a great relationship with him. He was a Tuesday night regular. I haven't worked there in over 10 years. And he called me up one day and said,
That's awesome.
I have a radio show. I think you should have a show on the same station talking about the culinary world. You'd be great at it. And I said, no, I can't do that. I, no one wants to hear me talk. I can't do a radio show. I don't like to public speak. I'm going to be terrible at it. He's like, no, let's give it a try. He goes, there's nothing of its kind on the radio right now. I think there's an opportunity here. So I said, I'm a yes person. I said, okay, I'll try it. I like getting out of my comfort zone and doing things that can help me grow. And this is in an industry that I appreciate. So I said, okay. And I'm 79 shows in now, 79 weeks, because we do one a week. And it's been
Yep.
absolutely wonderful. I mean, I met you through this, chef. I've met so many amazing people that I just wouldn't be in the room with had I not had this platform. So it's a learning curve. It's still a learning curve for me every day, but it's been really fulfilling, exciting, and we'll see what happens. I mean, we're in season 2, and Sky's the limit.
No, I absolutely love it. And thank you for having us on it. And again, in the show notes, I link to Christina's show where she interviewed us. It was an amazing experience. And every time I hear you talk about this, I feel like the way our podcast came to be, we had a friend of ours say to us, you need to be the show, not the commercial. And I said to him, I don't even know what that means. Okay. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound. He says, you need to do a show. And for me, there was one thing I always said, if I got really good advice, I acted on. So that was Friday, 4:00. On Monday, we had our first episode out. And, like you, so we 350 episodes in. And I still don't like the way I look. Okay. I still don't like the way I sound. And I just said, hey, I be like Christina. Okay. Culinary Confidential. I just suck it up and make it work.
Just
And
do
it was, it was amazing. The people we met through our podcast, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet them anywhere else. And I encourage anybody who is listening today, there's 3 things you need to do. You need to write a book, because I honestly feel it's not about the book, it's who you're becoming writing a book. The second thing is you need to do a podcast, because doing a podcast, it will eat away on who you are to become better every day. I always use me as an example. We had about 50 episodes, and I said, okay, I'm done. I said everything there was to say. I interviewed everybody, and I don't know if there's anything else to say. And Sean Walchef, who was the guy who said that to me, said, oh, it's just the beginning. And we started. And our thing was, I said, I wanted to make sure that anybody we bring to our show has value to our listeners. And the whole premise behind the Disruptive show is really simple. I want the listeners to feel disrupted when they hear about Christina. Okay, there's somebody who said, I go to culinary school and didn't go to college school, went and didn't go. Or, hey, I just provided excellent service, and today I'm doing because of something I did 10 years ago. I want our listeners to know that everything you do has an impact. And it's a reflection of who you are. And that's the final thing. The third thing is you need to go on somebody else's podcast, because when you do that, it's so different being from the other side than actually, talking to the customer. It kind of is humbling, because knowing, for me, I always say this, I was on your episode, you have what, 70, 80,000 listeners. And just seeing the excitement around the conversation and the things, hopefully we shared, which was of value. I want everybody to experience that, because it's different than going on a job interview. It's different than you as a business owner. It's different than negotiating a deal. And I absolutely love that. And it was the single best way for me to kind of learn a little bit more about me. So I want everybody to do the 3 things. So, but with that, Christina, I think you don't say this about yourself, but I know you are an amazing leader. And you said, hey, you kind of hard on the people, but I know you were fair. So in an industry which is really driven by hustle, by optics, how do you believe actual defines a successful, I want to call it hospitality leader, because I think what you will share transcends hospitality. I think it's for anybody. If you sell windows, if you sell medical supplies, I think it's all the same. But what do you believe actually defines a successful leader in 2026?
In 2026? Now it's like a numbers game. Anyone who can survive basically and not go out of business is a success, because it's hard to operate any business right now with the cost of goods or anything. But I think it's about developing a team that feels good about what they're doing, right? And I always said, I didn't treat people equally. I treated people fairly. Mm-hmm. So the same person that came to work 5-10 minutes early every day, detailing their station, making sure the restaurant was set up for success, wasn't getting treated the same as the person who calls out sick at the last minute. There was always drama. I want the cream of the crop on my team, people that I can trust. When I walk through the dining room, I don't even have to look around. I know they're doing the right thing. So to me, that's a success. When you have a community of people working with you that are cohesive, they work well together. for the same common goal, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think it's really hard too. Listen, it's not an easy industry. And then I like what you said, because today it doesn't matter which industry you're in. I think all of them have their own struggles. And for me, that's absolutely amazing. So, Miss Christina, let's pivot a little bit. Can you help our listeners understand a little bit about what do you currently do? I call it the 6 months thing. Christina, can you tell, what are you working on your business for the next 6 months? And what are you working on, Christina, for the next 6 months?
Well, right now I work for my family's business that I spoke about earlier. That is the priority. I have the golden handcuffs. It funds my whole life. I'm a single mom. I have 2 small kids. So this is a priority. Mm-hmm. So I'm working on bringing more business into this business that I'm at, because, a rising tide lifts all boats. The better the business does as a whole, the better I do personally. Yeah. But the radio show is also a full-time gig for me that I do on the side. So with that platform, I'm trying to grow the listenership. I'm trying to expand the network. You and I have spoken off air about just how to grow the podcast itself, get sponsors, people to sponsor the show so that it just keeps going for years. So that's a huge thing I'm working on right now, is how to push that. And then personally, I'm just working on being a good mom for my kids. They have their own struggles. They're young. And that's the number one priority, honestly.
That's awesome. I feel the same way, because I want actually to hear from our listeners. Right below in the comments, what are you working on for your business, or if you're an employee somewhere, or if you want to start something, or if you do something as a side hustle, what are you working on at for the next 6 months? From how you want to get ready, how do you want to position yourself? And then also share with us, what is it you want to work on to be a better you? Maybe you're a young parent, or you're a single parent, or you with an amazing partner, but you guys want to have something else. So write in the comments below, what are you working on? Because I'm curious to know, a lot of our audience, we always say we used to have like 50-50 culinary. Now we find we have a lot more people. We have more CEOs and hospitality professionals than other businesses. So for me, it's really important to kind of hear what they think. And so I'm curious to know, and then I will share this with Christina. And then also, if you guys haven't done so, you guys need to check out Christina's podcast, because it's amazingly good. And then also, I think if you have an opportunity or something great to say, you need to get on that podcast. And in the show notes below, we will write exactly what you need to do that. So with that, Miss Christina, the technology, do not worry about it. So I want to know...
Motion sensor.
I want to know what's next for you. What is something you work on in collaboration? What are you dreaming about you could want to do next? How you want to grow your listenership? How you want to grow your support and mission to provide more of Culinary Confidential to the marketplace?
So I do want to work on a bigger social media presence. I do have the social media handles, but there's so much value in digital marketing right now. Even in this other business that I'm in, my family's business, we're trying to do more social media marketing, because that's just where it's at right now. So I'm going to put a lot of effort into that the next couple months, like maybe hire a content creator just to post consistently and grow that audience that will hopefully translate into more listeners for the show. But yeah, I mean, I'm late to the game on this, but social media, digital marketing is something every business should be doing. So I'm going to put a lot of effort into that over these next few months.
I love that, because we had somebody on a few weeks ago, Paul Getter. If anybody hasn't heard of him, you need to check him out. He calls himself the marketing guru. And he said there's 3 things every business needs. Number 1 is the right people. The second thing is a social media presence. And the third thing is they need to find out, how does AI affect my business? Those are the three things you need to grow. And for me, that was so powerful hearing that, because it's so true. I know AI will not go away. It scares the heck out of me. Okay. But it will not go away. And then hearing that they started their own church and whatever AI did on its own. Okay. It scares me. But I also know that our industry will be affected in AI. So how can anybody play a part in that? And then also for me, all the other things he said, social media, because you heard when somebody checks out a business, and Paul has this really good way where he breaks it down. He said, if you're between 34 and 55, the first thing you're going to do, check out their website. The second thing you got to do is check out their social media. Make sure that whatever they say on social media is what they say on the website. And then if you're younger than 34, you do all on social media because you want to see what other people think of you. And for me, that was so eye-opening. And we've been doing a lot more consistent work. We have somebody fully designated now to do that. And for me, I honestly think that's the way to grow into the new you or what you want to do. And then for me also, I think social media is that necessary evil. We want to do less of that because I want to spend less time online, but it's also very, very neat to grow. So, but before we wrap,
I think I want to write a book, Chef.
Yeah, you have me, because I honestly believe, and that's for all of our listeners. I honestly believe everybody needs to write a book. Our business goal is we want to have 1 million people over the next 10 years write a book. Because writing a book does three things. Number one, it makes you get really clear of what you want to do. And for me, anything you do, clarity is key. The second thing is it gets you in the room you normally wouldn't have access to. There's a study Harvard did where they said, hey, somebody as a CEO and somebody as a PhD and somebody writing a book, they're all being viewed on the same level. And because I think there's three things behind it, because writing a book, it exposes you who you are. There's so many people which never do that because they're afraid of what people are going to think. The second thing they're going to do is, it's just so overwhelming. I don't even know where to start. And then when they start, they never finish it. And so that's what we help them with. I honestly believe if you write a book and you do it the right way without AI, or using AI as a tool not to write it, and you write it really who you are. Because for me, when I pick up your book, like we have a few new books here we published, when I read what Holly wrote, I know exactly when, oh my God, that's what she says all the time. I can hear and see her in the book. And I want this for our future authors to do, because I think there's nothing more powerful than that. And the other thing is, if you get really clear, it's easy to write a book. If you're really clear, it's easy to tell your story. If you get really clear, it's easy to do what you need to do. And that's why I feel everybody needs to write a book. And it has nothing to do with the sales of the book. Even if you sell no books, you will be a better person after the book than you were before the book. And we see this all the time. So I absolutely believe, Christina, what you do, you need to write a book.
Well, yeah, in my free time, but I would like to do that. I think I have, not to be self-promoting because I'm the last person to be like that, but I've had a lot of life experiences. Like, I'm 42, right? Like, I've lived a lot of life for a 42-year-old. I've traveled extensively. I've had situations where I've shared with you, working in a fast-paced environment in New York City at a young age. I've been put in difficult situations before. I'm a survivor of narcissistic abuse. So I just have a lot of different perspectives on things and resilience at the core of it. And I think it would be good for women to read, young women getting in the industry. And I don't know, it is a tall task. So I don't know if I have time.
I love that, because you just really broke down what is the benefit of writing a book. Because we have currently somebody writing a book. She writes about type 2 diabetes. I don't have type 2. I don't know anybody who has it. But as she wrote a few of the recipes, I said, I need to cook them. The food looks amazing. It looks delicious. It's colorful. It's fresh. To the point where I said to her, now you have a responsibility to write the book because you make type 2 diabetes be fun. I hate to say that, but it was amazingly good. And on top of it, she said, "Oh, I just came from a seminar where we learned eating a good type 2 diabetes a diet can extend your life expectancy 5-10 years." So I said, "Oh, now you have a responsibility to write the book. If I'm sitting on something which can enhance somebody's life 5 or 10 years, you need to do it." And I feel the same thing about you. Because what you can learn, any young female or any young person in any time was like, this is how I grew up. This is what happened to me. I didn't finish school here. I did this. I was all of this. There's so many people in this world which I feel can learn from that because the way people consume books is totally different today than it was a few years ago. I would say I have this cookbook collection on the other room. It came in this beautiful plexiglass container. It was $1,000. It was $1,700, whatever it was. I've never taken it out because I never wanted to, it was so expensive. I have no idea what it says. I never literally took it out of the thing. But what COVID did, it changed the way people consume books. They looking at books like a podcast. I want to learn something. I have to overcome this. I need to eat better. I need to lose 5 pounds. I need to be a better person. I need to be a better partner. And if you have this in a book and you could teach somebody this in a week, you just took their learning curve from 10 years to a weekend. And that's the beauty of a book.
Yeah. I read a ton of books during COVID, and I'm not someone who reads books. I just don't. Like, I get distracted easily. Yeah. I lose, my train of thought, and I have to reread things. So I just don't do that. During COVID, I was reading a book a week, and I loved it. And I read a lot of books about mindset, perspective, and it really changed the way I look at a lot of situations. So yeah, I'm all about books now. I'm late to the game, but
no. The whole idea of when is the best time to plant a tree? The best time was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. And so you need to do it today. And for me, also, my wife likes reading books. I like to listen to it. Okay, that's my thing. I like to listen to books, and I just looked for a client of mine. We have 617 books on my phone from different aspects. And I honestly think what a book really does for you, it's in its simplest form. If you read it to yourself, the person who writes is not the expert. You are not the expert because I'm reading it to myself. And if you say something to yourself, I think the likelihood that you believe it is greater than anybody else. So now when you listen to this book, or like you did, multiple books, you will think different. If you think different, you will have different thoughts. If you have different thoughts, you have different outcomes. If you have different outcomes, you have a whole different life. And I think that's the amazing thing about a book. And that's why I feel that everybody needs to write a book. And therefore our goal, 1 million people over the next 10 years to publish a book and bring their expertise out there. And let me while we talking about this, overcome the number one thing why people don't write a book. If you write a book about burgers, because you make the most amazing Christina burgers, okay? So a lot of people saying, why am I writing about burgers? XYZ chef wrote about burgers. There's a whole thing about burgers. I don't know as much as they do. I just make a simple, good meal for my family. What do you think has more connection to today's reader? A celebrity chef or a single mom which cooks because she wants to take care of the people she loves?
For me, it's the cooking, the single mom cooking because she wants to take care of the people she loves.
Correct. And it was Amazon which just published it. They will publish 2.6 million books. And 2 million books of them will outsell other books because they're from new authors. Because people don't care anymore about brands or some high-level chef. Because a lot of people know the high-level chef probably didn't write the book on his own. Yeah, probably a ghostwriter. Okay?
Right.
So now I know Christina does it and her family is flourishing. Her family is doing well. Now I want to learn from Christina. How did you do it? What is that burger recipe or whatever it is? And how the book industry has changed, and COVID did that. And therefore, I just think everybody needs to write a book. And today we're publishing from manuals to finance books. We have a public speaking book we just did for somebody. Somebody has a consultancy and he wants to sell his program. We have kids books. We have a little bit of everything. And Christina, if I said here 5 years ago, I said, we just want to do chefs. We want to help chefs write a book in 8 weeks. And today, we actually had somebody just sign up. She is 38 years as a executive consultant and hiring person. She says, hiring totally changed. I want to write a book to teach people how you can get in front of the right people. Never really thought about it. Her book is amazing. We had a 78-year-old lady write about assholes. Her book is called Asshole Management because she says how to deal with an asshole without becoming one. And it's amazing good at it. And for me, doing what we're doing today is so much fun because I met people. I would have never met a 78-year-old woman, which is, I want to teach people how to do this. And she is a psychotherapist for 40 years. I think her whole philosophy of how to deal with difficult people should be what is being taught for other people out there in the marketplace and which want to be great therapists. It's absolutely amazing. And I can talk about this all day. You notice that for me, books, it's one of the things. And for me, Christina, yes, you need to write Culinary Confidential, Christina style, not like the other guy. Okay. And then about your story, because we're telling everybody you need to write 3 books. Me, you, us. Me is, hey, this is my story. Us, hey, if you want to have some of the outcomes I have, this is what you need to do. And now where you have the same outcomes as I do, this is what we need to do for the industry. Me, you, us. And that's all I have about books. So for Miss Christina, before we wrap up today's session, can you tell people how they can learn more about you, more what you're doing, and how can they follow you?
So you can go to my website, culinaryconfidentialchristina.com. There's links on that site to every one of the streaming platforms that the show airs on, but the show does air on the radio in New York City on AM 970, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Available for streaming immediately afterwards. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, iHeart, Amazon, and Audible. And yeah, give it a download, give it a listen. I have people listening in over 20 countries, which is pretty cool. I never thought that would be a thing. So that's it.
Awesome. But before you leave, what our audience will want to know, what is the best advice you ever gotten you didn't act on?
Oh, that I didn't act on? I honestly don't know that I haven't acted on advice. If I get advice, I usually incorporate it somehow into my life. The best advice I've ever received was, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. That I take, very seriously. Every day when I walk out of the house, it doesn't matter if I'm going to my son's basketball game or I'm going to do a show in New York. I try to look presentable. People take you more seriously when you take yourself seriously. So that alone is, anyone of any age can implement that into their life. But I don't think I've not acted on advice.
So good. So with that, Miss Christina, I want to say thanks for being here. Thanks for the gift of your time. Thanks again for coming on and giving us 2.0. I love having you on the show, and I love having you kind of share your experience. And to our listeners, I just want to tell you, if you haven't done so, run to the internet and check out Christina's podcast. More stuff on the show notes below. And then also we want to know, hey, what do you expect of yourself on the comments below? So with that, I want to say Thanks for being here today. And to our listeners, remember to disrupt your kitchen, fire up your career, stay hungry for change. I'm Christian. I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show. I'm here today with Miss Christina, and we are signing off. That means we are out of here. So be the change, be the challenge, and be the chef who sets the world on fire. With that, thanks everybody, and we see you at the next show. Thanks.